All right, welcome back, everybody. I am Noah Sawyer, and this is the Junto, episode 30. This is my live stream talk show where we try to, where I guess we're preparing to face the rest of this century, the 21st century, and do so in a way where I don't know, we're trying to share knowledge and make sense of our situation, our existential and psychological situation, as well as our cultural, historical, political situation, and seek truth in this moment and make sense and then strategize with that truth so that maybe we can, using our human energy and our self-sovereignty, seek to create a new culture where maybe life will prevail in this shadow of total techno-political domination of the human spirit, where it is now normalized to self-destruct your own brain, your own will, your own body and spirit, your own family, your own world, nation, everything. And yeah, we're in a culture of destruction, and people can't see how severe the circumstances really are. I was thinking to myself earlier, well, I don't bring a phone into the bathroom. So I was in the bathroom and I was thinking about, I could hear someone in the other bathroom on the phone. And I was like, it's crazy that right now the foundation of the whole rest of the millennium is being laid. Like, we're in such a transition point where really, I think this century will spell out what the whole rest of the millennium is like. And yet we're just doom scrolling and wasting our time. And that is just crazy to me. So anyway, yeah. Today I'm just going to do a little bit of reading because I just want to... Oh, I forgot I put text on the... I was playing around with the text thing on the computer in OBS, because I've never used it before. And I mean, I'm not reading this right this second, so I'll take it down, but I will in a moment read this. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So I wonder, sorry, I'm still getting used to OBS and everything. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to do some reading. But before that, another thought I had today was I have a really messy room. It is like a storage facility for my used book selling business, and there's between 1,000 and 2,000 books in here, and it has been really messy for a while, basically since I started doing the stream, because I was like scrambling to start doing this stream. I really wanted to start it on New Year's Eve, and so I don't know, I had a good day where I just really cleaned a whole lot of my room and sorted through inventory, and I'm moving soon, so I have to sort through that inventory and decide what's going to go where. And it was great, and it made me think about how, like, this is something I've been dreading, and yet it reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend of mine about switching from a smartphone to a flip phone after she had switched to a flip phone. And she said that she wonders if a significant part of the reason that people don't make that switch is that they're going to realize and regret, or they're afraid of feeling the regret of having wasted so much time once their mind adjusts to being freed and has some more creativity, some more time, some more power, just literally more mental power. It's that fear of regret that can hold some people back. And I definitely think that is real to some extent, because I felt that even just today with my room, maybe. I guess I don't know if I felt it or if this was holding me back, but there was a part of... No. I guess the connection I want to make is more that once I got all of this done, I felt a relief, and it just felt so good to do it. And I felt no regret as to, I don't know, once you actually accomplish that task, you're just glad to be there in the present doing something and like accomplishing that task. I've noticed this every time I'm dreading something and then I go and just work on it and get it done. There's a huge relief that comes from actually facing it and doing it. And part of me is like, oh, maybe part of me is like, you should have done this a while ago. But I don't hear that voice. I don't actually hear that voice. I think I actually am just glad to have gotten it done, and I have no regrets, and I'll be able to keep the ball rolling with accomplishing my tasks, because now this frees up other things I can do, like starting to price things and pack things up, take pictures. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that because it applies to, I think it shows up in a lot of surprising places, even social interactions where it's like fear of reconciling with somebody. I don't know. I haven't thought a whole lot about it, but there's something going on in there. Okay, so I'll just get into it. So I have 3 copies of the Tao Te Ching here. I don't think I'm going to read every verse from every book. And I also was thinking, I guess just to show off, I was like, if this goes by really fast, I'll read the first 10 Psalms or something. Similarly, ancient wisdom book. And I found this Bible recently that's so crazy. So this is the Bible I actually read. It's very petite, and this is my problem solver right here. But easy to move around. And I found this one recently for 33 cents at Salvation Army, and it is just like a total beast. It is huge. It is bigger than my head. But it would be I wasn't expecting to, I don't know, I figured I would give it to someone. I wasn't going to sell it, but now I'm like, oh wow, this is actually, if I ever am reading the Bible on stream, this is like a super easy one, because the one I normally have in my room, the text is really small in here, obviously. I mean, these are the same books, so something's different, and it's the font size. So I was dreading needing to read Psalms out of this, because it would not go smoothly. It's just not too visible. But in here, this is crazy. So, but we'll see if we have time and interest for that later. I'll keep it visible because it just looks good. But anyway, so I'm going to start with this. This was the first copy of the Tao Te Ching that I ever read. A friend of mine recommended that I read this book, not this specific translation, and I asked if he recommended a translation, and he said no, just any of them. But the thing is, there's like a million translations of this book. I think there's actually, the Bible and the Tao Te Ching are the 2 most translated into English books, period, or maybe translated books, period. I forget the statistic, but they are both super, the quantity, there's a large number of different translations. So I've got 3 here, and this one, I think I'll read a few out of this one because this one's new to me. This one's from the early 1900s in Scotland. It was published in Scotland, and I've been really enjoying it so far. And then this one is tricky. This one's by Brooks Ziporian, I think, and it is just so, it's a lot more literary, but this guy, I think more than either of these 2 translators, this guy is like a true ancient Chinese language scholar based on the introduction, which I haven't read in a while. So usually when people get too wordy with their translations of the verses, I'm suspicious, but this one's interesting because it's pretty philosophical, and I trust him somewhat because he's like truly going in with the source material, the introductions about different scrolls that have been found, and and the differences between those scrolls and the different canons that developed out of them and the typical ones that are used for translation. So he's a total Chinese nerd in a good way, in the perfect way for something like that. And yeah, but I don't know if I'll really read all three over and over. But we'll see. So, yeah, but the general idea here is I just wanted an easy stream. I'm changing some things up this week. I'm going to get a new computer, and I don't know if I'll do a stream tomorrow. So I just wanted to read these myself, and why not read it here where some other people can think about it and enjoy it. And with that, on that note, I'll just get into it. There will be a lot more to say. I'll comment on it. I'm not really a scholar for this stuff, but I've gotten a lot out of this book. It has helped me profoundly in my life with finding emotional stability and like discipline for my will and grace in my social interactions and strategy in my endeavors, whether they are personal or social, things that are like, projects I'm working on alone or with other people. It has helped me with all of that. It is a very deep book, and I'm actually not sure when it was written. I don't know. I mean, I know it was more than 2,000 years ago. So yeah, this says about 2,500 years ago in ancient China. So yeah, and in the introduction to this particular one, the introduction's by Jacob Needleman, who's a comparative religion scholar, and the notes at the end are by him too. I recommend this one, I guess. I'll say that off the bat. This one is translated by Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. Kind of a weird little note in there from Jane English, though. I'm pretty sure it was basically just translated by Jia Fu Feng, and there's like she tells a weird anecdote where she's like, yeah, like Jia Fu Feng is this old Chinese guy, and I guess I don't know who she is, but she's not Chinese. She doesn't speak Chinese, I don't think, but she kind of like tweaked his translation to make it work better. And the reason it's funny is she's just like, yeah, I think he thought that was just normal, but it's not really a normal part of the translation process. So it reads kind of weird. It's like, so you were tricking him and you're also telling us all about it right now. But I don't know. Maybe she was saying something else, but that's what I got when I read the foreword. So yeah, not much to get out of the foreword, but the introduction and notes from Jacob Needleman are good. Great book. So that's it. I mean, if anyone has any questions about it, I will do my best to answer them. I guess right off the bat, I will say another thing, which is Tao Te Ching is way of virtue book. Tao is notoriously difficult to translate, but when it is translated into English, people typically settle on way or path. It's like a way of life, a way to live, a guiding principle, but an extremely multi-dimensional principle, an infinitely multi-dimensional principle. It's similar to in Catholicism when the Holy Spirit pours grace out into an individual, as I understand it. So when you walk in the Tao, it's similar to that concept in Catholicism. And then in Islam and Sufism, I guess it would be similar to remembering Allah. So it's when you're in a state of remembrance, like the Sufi masters, and you have not forgotten, you are in that state where you are following the path. You're going, I mean, so many traditions have different ways of saying it. Like in Islam, I've seen the steep path. In the Bible, Jesus refers to it as the narrow road as opposed to the wide road. Basically, finding a way to live righteously in the world as a human being. So that's the Tao. And De, so yeah, that's the other thing. You'll see this, it's with a T because that's just old school how they were transliterating Chinese into the English alphabet. And for some reason, it stuck. However, like Brooks Ziporian, the Chinese scholar that we were just talking about, you can't really see it here. It's it's hidden in there. I think you can see it now. It's written with D's, and it's written as all one word, Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. And also it's debated whether Lao Tzu was really one person or if this is from a common tradition. There's lots written about that. Yeah. Anyway, any other little things? Oh yeah, well the concept of virtue, D-E or T-E, that is, I guess maybe that's sort of how how we come in line with the Tao. So, and I could be wrong here, but basically my mug here is always virtuous because it's simple. It's not making any decisions. A stone is in accordance with the Tao via virtue or de. So the stone and the tree, the animals, they are in accord. I guess there is a metaphysical question about how out of sync human decisions can make the whole world, or if they are at least the animals and other decision-making life is at least in its own harmony in response to the discord that we bring through our decisions in the fallen world, in the Christian sense. So what was I going to say? Yeah, so then in humanity, I guess this is maybe more like being in a state of grace in the Christian sense, is to have that, to make virtue real is how they go together, like walking in the Tao and making virtue real, similar things. So that's all the preface I'll give. So when it refers to Tao in here, you have some sort of sense, and I think it just translates virtue as virtue, but that's like a capital V virtue, metaphysical implications situation. All right, so yeah, I will throw up some text here for reference. Tao Te Ching, verse 1, and let's get into it. So, and this is a very famous first line of a book. If you've never heard it before, it is well known. All right. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. So, a few comments on that. This is getting into our human experience of language. We are linguistic beings deep down. Or in the Gospel of John starts off, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. There is a deep significance to language and the human being, and it was picked up in China 2,000 years ago. It was picked up in the Mediterranean 2,000 years ago. It has been understood for a long time, but it's something that we, especially now and increasingly rapidly, are falling away from, because now the word, it's becoming kind of simple and like informational, very surface level. We are forgetting the power that words actually have to shape the world, shape our mind, and by shaping our mind, shaping our world. So the name that can be named is not the eternal name. So if you want to access something transcendent, even the power of the human words to name things is not enough. It slips beyond the grasp that the names have. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. The 10,000 things is a recurring reference in this book, and it typically refers, as I understand it, it refers to the material world, the 10,000 things. There's just so many things. It's like it's a figure of speech. Just the world, the material world, all that is there. So that is how our linguistic sense starts to render the world to us, naming the material world. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. And what we desire or chase around is that which is typically out there. But I don't read this as a negative thing, as a positive thing and then a negative thing. But I think because no matter what, we're in the world and we have to have some relationship to it. I think it's trying to again, I'm just a novice here, and I haven't read this in a while. I just want to share my thoughts. But I think it's referring more to something legitimate, to something, because it's not about escaping the 10,000 things. We're in the world. So anyway, the two spring from the same source but differ in name. This appears as darkness, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. So I think I will read one of these from each book, or not each book, but I want to read this new book that I got. So the Tao that can be expressed is not everlasting Tao. The name that can be named is not the everlasting name. He whose name is spirit in man is life spring of heaven and earth. He whose name is outward possessions is mother of all created beings. Therefore, constantly desire inner life in order to perceive mysteries, constantly desire possessions in order to perceive limitations. These two, one in source but differing in name, are one in being called deep, deep, and yet more deep, door of many mysteries. This puts well what I was trying to describe. Therefore, constantly desire inner life in order to perceive mysteries, constantly desire possessions in order to perceive limitations. You might think constantly desiring possessions is a bad thing, but I think what it is indicating there is if you forget, you will actually be more caught up in those possessions. You need to be aware of it in order to understand the limitations and limit yourself from your engagement with it so that you have only virtuous engagement with it. That's what I would say. So let's move along into, I'm kind of tempted to read it in this other one, but I just don't want to be too crazy here. And also this guy, I don't always understand what he's saying. So I feel like I have to do sort of a preliminary read through of this one where I process it. I look up some words. It might just get a little too long if I'm trying to make sense of Brooks Ziporian's translation. All right, so let's go to number 2 and change the text here to number 2. All right. So, under heaven, all can see beauty as beauty only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good only because there is evil. Therefore, having and not having arise together. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short contrast each other. High and low rest upon each other. Voice and sound harmonize each other. Front and back follow one another. Therefore the sage goes about doing nothing, teaching no talking. The 10,000 things rise and fall without cease, creating yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit. Work is done, then forgotten, therefore it lasts forever. And this was something I had trouble with as a teenager, is the necessity of opposites. And I've accepted it now, because now I see more depth to it than I did back then. Basically, I was like, why can't you have good without evil? That was the primary one, because I went to a Catholic high school and I was an atheist at the time and I was argumentative. And but my teachers were not very good. Like I'm soon converting to Catholicism, but I think I had legitimate philosophical qualms with the way that I was being taught. And now as an adult, I see that there is more philosophical depth to that tradition than I was aware of at the time. And this is kind of one of those things where I think I was more open to utopian thinking, where it's like, well, what if you just have goodness but no evil? But really, this is something to meditate on and think a lot about. And this is related to, like, the yin yang symbol is a Taoist symbol, as I understand it. I'm pretty sure it originated in Taoist culture. And that symbol, it is the white and the black. And there's a dot of black in the white, and there's a dot of white in the black. And there is a symbiosis between those two things. And opposites are something that it really is essential to grapple with opposites in a metaphysical way, because that is the condition of our existence, as I understand it. There are some things we can't get away from. There is this differentiation. High always rests upon low. Low always rests under high. Voice and sound harmonize each other, like noise versus sound versus music. There's all this connection. There's a connection between it all. And especially I feel like front and back follow one another is such an easy example, because you've got you can't really tell which side's the front and the back of this book, but let's see if oh yeah. So here's an old postcard made out of a photograph, and it's an old battleship, World War II probably. And on the back, it's just a blank postcard. So front and back follow one another. There just is no escape. I feel like this was one of the more intuitive ones for me to break through in meditation, and then see the necessity of various other things that are more complex. Especially, I think the most ultimately complex one is good versus evil. Anyway, and the 10,000 things rise and fall without cease. Again, that's the material world, which is always in process. It never ceases. They're always rising and falling. They're always changing, and that change is always registered in some dimension of opposites. So, yeah, and this book encourages understanding the process of the world and creating yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit, because you're also a part of this process. When you take credit for things, I feel like sometimes when people take credit for things, they forget that they didn't create themselves to begin with. You may create something great, but where will it go after you're gone, and how do you get here to do it? There is this massive universal process. So, creating yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit. Work is done, then forgotten, therefore it lasts forever. It is a part of the eternal process. And the thing about therefore it lasts forever, if you do take credit, or if you do go against the Tao washes it all away in time. You were not a part of the eternal process. It was washed away by something greater than you that you couldn't understand in that case. All right, I'll read it from Isabella Mears here. All men know the existence of beauty. Beauty cleft asunder is ugliness. All men know the existence of love. Love cleft asunder is hatred. Therefore, possessions and inner life interdepend in life. Difficult and easy interdepend in completeness. Long and short interdepend in form. High and low interdepend in inequality. Tones and voice interdepend in harmony. Before and after interdepend in sequence. That is why the self-controlled man makes it his business to dwell in the inner life. He teaches not by words, but by actions. He brings all beings into action. He does not refuse them. He gives them life, but does not possess them. He acts, but looks not for reward. He works out of perfectness, but claims no credit. All right. And, oh, there's more on the other side. The master indeed rests not on rewards. That is why he passes not away. All right. So now let's move on to number 3. And back to Jia Fu Feng here. Not exalting the gifted prevents quarreling. Not collecting treasures prevents stealing. Not seeing desirable things prevents confusion of the heart. The wise, therefore, rule by emptying hearts and stuffing bellies, by weakening ambitions and strengthening bones. If men lack knowledge and desire, then clever people will not try to interfere. If nothing is done, then all will be well. So I love this one's good. Yeah, wow, there really is so much to say about this book. Something I used to say about this book if I was recommending it to someone is that it's easy to, or a great way to use it is if you open up to any verse, basically, and you read the following 10 verses, you're just going to find something that resonates with something that's going on in your life. It just is very far-reaching. It touches our psychological relationship to ourselves, our social relation to others, the projects that we're working on. It just has to do with everything. So not exalting the gifted prevents quarreling. There's, I guess various things in this one reminds me of being in a band where, I don't know, well, the other thing is when you, for illustrative purposes, the wise therefore rule by emptying hearts and stuffing bellies, by weakening ambitions and strengthening bones. That's something that is being described in a political sense. It's talking about the wise ruling a population, but it also applies to the ego ruling the organism, where you can release ego control, you can empty elements of the heart, stuff bellies, weaken ambitions, and strengthen bones. And yeah, I don't know. There's kind of a lot in this one. It's not really. I don't see a total unity for this one. I see all the different lines pull me in a different direction. So not collecting treasures prevents stealing. I think that's just true, and is easy to forget. And there's a lot of stress that it's not about the stealing. It's about the worrying about the stealing, because it introduces that type of worry into your life, and that is a distraction. Not seeing desirable things prevents confusion of the heart. That's also true. It reminds me of that quote I've read on here from my old voice instructor, where discipline is remembering what we really want. And how can we remember what we really want if our heart is getting confused? There's another line in this book that is, precious things lead us astray. So, yeah. And if men lack knowledge and desire, then clever people will not try to interfere. I don't think that's saying keep the population dumb. It's more just there are trade-offs for all these sorts of things, where if you try to make it so your population all know everything, there's a regularized school system, everyone participates in the economy through the same channel. They do different things, but they get there through the same channel. I just don't think that's what people are like. I don't think people have what's the word? It's not disposition, but proclivity. I don't know. People have different proclivities to do different things, and that needs to be understood. You can't try to control it through cleverness and expect everything to be well. If nothing is done, then all will be well. All right, let's go to number 4 here. Actually, I'll do number 3 in this book. So, exalt not men, so that the people may not fight. Prize not rare objects, so that the people may not steal. Look not on desirable things, so that the people's heart be not troubled. That is why the self-controlled man governs by stilling the emotions, by quieting thought, by mastering the will, by increasing strength. He always teaches the people to know the inner life, to desire the inner life. He teaches the masters of knowledge to cease from activity, to act through activity of the inner life. Then inner life will govern all. Wow, I prefer this translation. I've never read that before. And in the introduction, she says this is pretty literal. She said she tried to be a little word for word with it. But yeah, talking about quieting thought is a lot better to me. And talking about it's less easy to misinterpret it or interpret it in a way that may not actually be all that true to the original intention. And he always teaches the people to know the inner life, to desire the inner life. And that is where harmony comes from. You have to have knowledge of the inner life, of the self and existence, and then harmony flows out through the village and through the nation and through the world. So yeah, that was a good one. Good translation. Let's go to number 4. The Tao is an empty... Actually, let me fix the thing here. Verse 4. So, the Tao is an empty vessel. It is used but never filled. O unfathomable source of 10,000 things. Blunt the sharpness, untangle the knot, soften the glare, merge with dust. O hidden deep but ever present, I do not know from whence it comes. It is the forefather of the gods. So I'll just say a couple of things about this one. The Tao is an empty vessel. It is used but never filled. Something about that might seem contradictory. I mean, there are legitimate contradictions in this book, but it is used but never filled. When you use it, when you fill it up with water, say, the vessel itself has not been filled. There's water within it, but the vessel itself is still emptied. It can be poured out. It can be filled up again. The other thing, again, the 10,000 things, that's the material world, the physical universe. I like this list where it just makes me think this whole book, the verses are great to meditate on. Sometimes even just the lines or a couple lines are great to meditate on. But thinking about blunting the sharpness, untangling the knot, softening the glare, merging with dust, these are all inevitable. All of these things necessarily happen, and we can forget about that because we think the material world is permanent, but everything, every sword has its sharpness dulled by time, at the very least, if not through use. There's another line somewhere in the book about, trying to make the sword as sharp as possible, but the sharper it is, the more rapidly it will dull with use. So, yeah, hidden deep but ever present, I do not know from whence it comes. It is the forefather of the gods. So it's talking about the thing that ultimately does this to everything in the material world must be the source of those things. It must be the Tao or God, whatever the conception is. In this book, they call it Tao. For lack of a better word, they call it great, is another quote in there. So let's check out 4 in this new translation. New to me. Oh, shit. What happened here? I lost my, I didn't lose my internet connection, but I lost it on my monitoring computer over here. That was weird. Okay, so yeah, all good, right? Yeah, cool. So number 4, Tao is infinite. If we use it, we find it inexhaustible. Deep and unfathomable, it seems to be ancestor of all things. It rounds off our angles. It unravels our difficulties. It tempers our light. It is lowly as the dust. It is pure. It remains everlasting. I do not know whose son it is. It appears to have existed before God. That's a nice one too, and it opens up the difference between thinking of it as talking about that which is out there versus talking about our psychological processes, which are in here. It rounds off our angles. It unravels our difficulties instead of unraveling the knot. Well, that's the thing about the knot. The knot doesn't have to be made of rope in the world. We are so knotted. Our muscles are knotted. Our social conceptual apparatus is knotted. There's a great book by R.D. Laing. It's a poetry book. And I thought I had it right there. One sec. All right, well, I don't know where it is, but that book is about all of the knots we get into with how we conceive of other people and the feedback loops that ensue from it. The book is crazy good. I mean, I don't agree with Laing about a lot of things, but that book rocks because it lays bare the fact that we tie ourselves into knots thinking about what other people are thinking, about what we're thinking, about what they're thinking. And he does it beautifully and sort of geometrically even. It is really crazy. I don't mean geometrically in terms of the geometric method like Spinoza, but I just mean using shapes, not using that system of proofs. All right, so let's move on to number 5 here. Text. A couple of my favorites are in the first 10. I like 8 and 10, I'm pretty sure. So here's 5. Heaven and earth are impartial. They see the 10,000 things as straw dogs. The wise are impartial. They see the people as straw dogs. The space between heaven and earth is like a bellows. The shape changes, but not the form. The more it moves, the more it yields. More words count less. Hold fast to the center. I think when it talks about straw dogs, I'm not totally sure, but it reminds me of paper tigers, like in Mao's writings, where it's like it is not actually something to be worried about. I could be incorrect. I'm not sure, but I could check the notes actually, if there is one. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it is different. So the note on 5 here, straw dogs, as Wing Sit Chan and others point out, were used for sacrifices in ancient China. After they had been used, they were thrown away, and there was no more sentimental attachment to them. These lines suggest the universal scale against which the wise measure human values. Man has a cosmic destiny, whereas most of what we call morality concerns relative and ephemeral social values, often having to do mainly with what is good or bad only for the individual person or group. The impartiality of the wise refers to the universal context within which they understand the meaning of human life and its possibilities. The highest forces can care for us only to the extent that we allow them into our own being. In The Guide for the Perplexed, the great 12th century Jewish spiritual philosopher Moses Maimonides states that God's providence can act in human life only to the extent that man's intellect is in actual contact with God. Otherwise, human beings are like cattle and subject to accidents of every kind. This perspective was never completely incorporated into the mainstream of Orthodox Judaism. Okay, well, I don't know about that, but I was totally wrong about straw dogs. And yeah, a lot of the notes in here, Jacob Needleman's like a comparative religious scholar, so he brings in, like in the previous note, I can see he's referring to G.I. Gurdjieff. And yeah, anyway. Okay, so that is interesting. In a way, it is it changes things for me, but I was sort of getting a similar thing out of it. When I thought it was straw dogs like paper tigers, I was like, heaven and earth are impartial. They see the 10,000 things as straw dogs, like nothing to worry about, like nothing to be changing your attitude because of. And now with this sense of straw dogs as things that pass away and are not sentimentally, like there's no sentimentality attached to them after their use, after they come to pass. Sort of a similar thing. It's like they transpire and we don't worry about it. All right. So yeah, and I like the concept of the space between heaven and earth is like a bellows. Like I always think of a bellows as the in between the accordion ends. The shape changes, but not the form. The more it moves, the more it yields. More words count less. Hold fast to the center. So let's see what this other one here has to say. Heaven and earth are impartial. They regard all creatures as sacred. The self-controlled man is impartial. He regards all people as sacred. The space between heaven and earth is like a bellows. Emptied, it loses not power. Moved, it sends forth more and more wind. Many words lead to exhaustion. Be not thus. Keep to thy center. Nice. Yeah, different. Because, but I like reading all of the ones I can get my hands on, unless there are horrible translations of this book. Don't get me wrong. Ursula K. Le Guin did one that I did not read because I was like, I just didn't like it, basically. But I didn't give it a chance. I didn't read everything. I read probably the first 10 because I'm, more or less familiar. It gives you an idea if you read the first 10. Okay, so regard all creatures as sacred, all people as sacred. I really like how it describes the bellows here. Emptied, it loses not power. Moved, it sends forth more and more wind. Many words lead to exhaustion. That's true. That is, some people, they get so worked up trying to explain everything away or control things in social interactions, and it's like, you need to chill and think about the big picture here for a minute because you're exhausting me. Anyway, let's move on to number 6. Oh, I know 1 to 10 in Chinese. It's a yi er san si wu liu. Okay, we're on Leo, I think. Fact check me in the chat. I think someone else knows Chinese in the chat if he's in there. But we'll see. Yeah, our resident Chinese scholar at the Junto. Okay, so 6. Or Leo. The valley spirit never dies. It is the woman, primal mother. Her gateway is the root of heaven and earth. It is like a veil barely seen. Use it, it will never fail. This one's a little mysterious. I don't know what's in the... Yeah, no notes in this translation on that one, but I guess off the bat what I get out of this is thinking about the mother's womb as the root of heaven and earth because it creates new life and it creates this new comprehension of the human plays a specific and unique role in the cosmos here, where it is not purely animal. There is a intellectual decision-making ability. So it is like a veil barely seen. Use it, it will never fail. Well, yeah, I don't really know. I think there's Valley Spirit never dies. I guess I don't know. Let's check the other one because I'm a little stumped. But that's also why I say, you have to read the first 10 when you... Or that's why I used to say to people, you don't have to read the first 10. Just, pick anywhere in the book, read 10, you'll probably find something. Well, 9 of them might not resonate with you in that moment. Like this one, I'm not totally sure. The spirit of the valley dies not. It is called mother substance of the deep. The door of mother substance of the deep is called the root of heaven and earth. Continuously, it nourishes and preserves. Use it, thy strength shall not fail. That makes more sense. There's a note here. Lao Tzu frequently quotes from earlier sages or sentence makers. Quote, like that's a term for a type of writer back then. This chapter is found in the works of Li Tzu, 400 BC. He quotes it from a book of the Emperor Huang Ti, 2700 BC. Lao Tzu here builds it into his system of philosophy. So this one makes a little more sense and makes me think of the spirit of the valley as an element of the Tao, or maybe just the Tao itself, because there's a unity to it, I would think. The spirit of the valley dies not. So continuously, it nourishes and preserves. Use it, thy strength shall not fail. So you need to use the entirety of this way, which is a both masculine and feminine way. It is taking and giving. It is creating and destroying. All right, let's move on to number 7. What is 7 in Chinese? I think it's Liu. 8 is Ba. Oh, 7 is Qi. Cool. Yeah, it's called We Speak a Little Chinese. 我说汉语. That, I don't know. I should learn Chinese. I started learning a little bit of Latin the other day because I just had a Latin book in here, and it was fun. Ego sum nauta. I'm a sailor. Ego sum et nauta et agricola. I'm a sailor and a farmer. That's as far as I got. But more updates on that later. So number 7. Heaven and earth last forever. Why do heaven and earth last forever? They are unborn, so ever living. The sage stays behind, thus he is ahead. He is detached, thus at one with all. Through selfless action, he attains fulfillment. So, yeah, I mean, the sage stays behind, thus he is ahead is something I think about all the time because it's just funny when you're walking with a group of people to, like, it just there's a... You think about the I don't know. I've read this so many times that pops into my head when I'm in a walking dynamic, and sometimes the people in front are like, I don't know. It's just a dynamic, I guess, but it just shows up in random little places. So he is detached, thus at one with all. Through selfless action, he attains fulfillment. Yeah. All right. Let's see what the other one has to say about verse Qi. Heaven and earth endure long. If heaven and earth endure long, it is because they do not live for self. Therefore they can long endure. That is why the self-controlled man puts himself last, yet he is found in the foremost place. He regards his body as outside of himself, yet his body is preserved. Is it not that his chief interest is in the inner life? Therefore he can perfect his chief interest. I really like this Isabella Mears translation. I got lucky. I found this for $1 somewhere, but to get one that's actually like this old and was printed in Scotland, they are kind of rare. All right, so let's move on to 8, which I think actually, what is 8 in Chinese? I don't know. Is it bu or ba? Bu is no, so maybe it's ba. What do we got? Oh yeah, this one's awesome. Okay, so 8 and 10, 2 of my favorites in the whole book. So we'll do 8, 9, 10, and we'll call it a day. Number 8. The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places men reject, and so is like the Tao. In dwelling, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in the heart. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. In speech, be true. In ruling, be just. In daily life, be competent. In action, be aware of the time and the season. No fight, no blame. I mean, that's just like rules for life, basically. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but whenever it talks about water, I imagine water running down a mountain, not a whole lot of it, just a little stream and all of the paths that it takes. It does not strive, but it gives life to the 10,000 things. There's this constant water cycle. For now, maybe it'll all be destroyed in our lifetimes. Who knows? Who knows what's coming? But yeah, it flows in places men reject, and so is like the Tao. The Tao it's everything. It's not just what's good. It is everything. But yeah, I love those. In dwelling, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in the heart. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. In speech, be true. In ruling, be just. In daily life, be competent. In action, be aware of the time and the season. I think in a later version of this, they changed that to in action, watch the timing. No fight, no blame. Yeah, banger alert. So let's check it out in the new one. Heavenly love is like water. Wow. Okay, this is epic. Heavenly love is like water. Water blesses all things. It does not hurt them. It loves the lowly place that men dislike. Therefore it comes very near to Tao. The master loves to dwell upon the earth. In his heart he loves infinity. In his benevolence he loves giving. In his words he loves sincerity. In his government he loves peace. In his business affairs he loves ability. In his movements he loves punctuality. The master indeed does not fight. Therefore his inner life increases. Yeah, okay, that was good. This book rocks. Basically, if you haven't noticed, this book rocks. So let's just move on, though, to number 9. But that one's great. I meditate on that one. I think about, like with number 8, I will write that. I haven't done this in too long, but I used to just write it down. If I ever felt listless and like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my time, I would write that down and memorize it by rote. And I think that's a great activity with all sorts of things we can find in culture and literature. You could do it with song lyrics that you like. Just take the time, spend your attention, take 10 minutes, write it as many times as you can in 10 minutes, or an hour, and just be better off because of it. Just have that in your mind instead of reels, instead of shit from the internet. All right. Number 9. 9 in Chinese is jiu, I think. Better stop short than fill to the brim. Over-sharpen the blade, and the edge will soon blunt. Amass a store of gold and jade, and no one can protect it. Claim wealth and titles, and disaster will follow. Retire when the work is done. This is the way of heaven. I think that's easy to forget. Retire when the work is done. Don't overwork yourself trying to do things, because then you can basically you can screw it all up by doing that. So, yeah, more rules for life. Amass a store of gold and jade and no one can protect it. And it's not, like I mentioned earlier, it's not just that it will be stolen. It worries you that it might be stolen, or it increases worry. Yeah. Oh, and I'll do 9 in the new translation here. Wow, I like this use of heavenly love. So, number 9. Let heavenly love fill you and overflow in you, not according to your measure of fullness. Prove it, probe deeply into it. It shall not long withstand you. You may fill a place with gold and precious stones. You will not be able to guard them. You may be weighted with honors and become proud. Misfortune will then come to yourself. Misfortune then will come to yourself. You may accomplish great deeds and acquire fame. Retire yourself. This is heavenly Tao. Nice. All right, so let's go to shi, or 10, which is another one of my favorites in the whole book, and that will wrap up the stream. I'm not going to do the Psalms tonight. This has been it's a sufficient amount of time. Don't want to go all night. All right, so let's end with one of the greatest. Carrying body and soul and embracing the one, can you avoid separation? Attending fully and becoming supple, can you be as a newborn babe? Washing and cleansing the primal vision, can you be without stain? Loving all men and ruling the country, can you be without cleverness? Opening and closing the gates of heaven, can you play the role of woman? Understanding and being open to all things, are you able to do nothing? Giving birth and nourishing, bearing yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit, leading yet not dominating, this is the primal virtue. And virtue is de. It's the second word in the name of the book, Tao Te Ching. Yeah, just another great one. Attending fully and becoming supple, can you be as a newborn babe? Well, a newborn babe hasn't had to make decisions yet. It hasn't learned language yet. It's in an early state. Can you start to attend fully to the whole process of your being, that which is in you and influencing you from without, and becoming supple? Can you return to that state where you are in line with the Tao, where you are virtuous? Loving all men and ruling the country, can you be without cleverness? That applies to our affairs with other people. Say, like, I've played in bands a lot, so I think about that I've also lived in a lot of like collective housing situations, like art collectives, and it's like cleverness is not necessarily your friend. You want this to work, and you don't want to over process everything or over control everything. Carrying body and soul and embracing the one, can you avoid separation? I think about that a lot because in our overly visual culture, we're pulled into the world and we're pulled away from various parts of our body. And it's hard to say where the line is drawn, but basically I think we're pulled away from the whole process. It's sort of, it's like, since our vision is bodily, it's like, in this example, pulling us away from our soul and becoming overly bodily and losing the inner life. So I'm curious how it will be translated here. Oh, shoot. Forgot to change the thing to 10, but that was 10. And now this is also 10. Bring soul and spirit into unity. They will become welded in the inner life. Conquer vital force until it yields to you. You will become as a newborn child. Purify the channels of deep perception. You will dwell safely in the inner life. Govern a kingdom by governing the people. They will learn to act from the inner life. Open and shut the doors of heaven. You will have repose of mind in active life. Let your purity shine forth in all directions. Men will see that you have the inner life. Give it birth, nourish it. Give it birth, but do not seek to possess. Act, but do not appropriate. Endure, but do not rule. This is called profound virtue. Yeah, just really, really wonderful. And the inner life is what is being destroyed in our world. That is what happens when you have a culture that is getting people hooked on and addicted to distraction and sustaining that addiction forever, sustaining that addiction and worsening that addiction as time goes on. I don't know what the future holds. Hopefully we can break some of this, but people are becoming increasingly addicted. They're giving phones to children at younger and younger ages. And that inner life, that is where harmony comes from. You need people in the world to be honing their inner life, to be, how did they say? You need soul and spirit in unity welded within the inner life. It is only welded within the inner life. It can't be welded without it. You need meditation and prayer. You need attention and concentration. So yeah, that's just my little reading here. And I will I don't know if I'll do a show tomorrow, but just because I think I'm going to change some tech stuff up. But if I do a show, I might do something simple. Maybe I'll read the Psalms. I haven't read the Psalms, but I've been wanting to. So it's just something to do, something to think about. Maybe the last thing I'll do here, I'll take a look at this last translation just for those two chapters that I really love, number 8 and number 10. So real quick, let's go back to number 8 and just see what Brooke Saporian has to say, how he has to put it. The highest good is like water. Sorry. Funny stutter there. The highest good is like water. Water, so deft, so good at benefiting things by never competing with them, by putting itself where none want to go. That is why it is so close to the course. In dwelling, so good at finding the place. In centering, so good at finding the depths. In interacting, so good at being kind. In babbling, so good at ringing true. In aligning, so good at shaping up. When put to work, so good at gaining the power. When making a move, so good at finding the moment. Because never contending, ever beyond reproach. Nice. And I'll read number 10 again, too. So, in the midst of the physical vigors bearing you up and those borne up by you, can you hold them together in a single embrace? In unifying all your energies of life and breath, can you stay as supple as a newborn? In rinsing clear your obscure purview, can you wipe away every last speck? In caring for the people and ordering the nation, can you remain free of all knowledge? In opening and shutting the gates of heaven, can you take the role of the female? In seeing clear through all the four directions, can you keep on doing nothing at all? This is the birthing and rearing of things that never possess what it produces. This is the birthing and rearing of things that never possesses what it produces, never expecting anything from its deeds, growing things but never controlling them, the obscure power of remaining obscure. Nice. I like that first line here. In the midst of the physical vigors bearing you up and those borne by you, can you hold them together in a single embrace? We have a difficult balancing act to do, especially in the 21st century, and all of this wisdom is highly relevant to it. We cannot just be getting carried away by entertainment and distraction or by the norms of our culture. If we do that, we will be destroyed. We will see things that we love destroyed, and we'll see that no matter what. But we can bring harmony back into the world if we find harmony in ourselves. So that's why I love this book. And thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell, leave a comment if you want. Let me know what your favorite verse is of the Tao Te Ching. I really like 8 and 10. There are some others later in the book that I like as well. And let me know if you want me to do the rest of the book at some point. Why not? I think it's wonderful, and it certainly benefits me to read this book. All right. Have a great night. Might not see you tomorrow. I'll be here Thursday at the very least. Goodbye.